It's pretty tricky to see, but I think the crack under here is not totally sealed up. Especially like around here. Kind of starts sealing. So, unfortunately this terrarium is not sealed the way... Well, it's just not sealed, which sort of defeats the point. The leak isn't that big, but so there's maybe something to be learned from it still, but basic concept is a little bit compromised. But we'll keep watching it anyway, because it's, I don't have another. So there's still a lot of algae growing, and if you look further you can see that the algae is growing really anywhere where there's sunlight and soil, which makes sense. So even where there's just stuff stuck on the glass, it's continuing to grow. There's a little bit of like an infection or something on the ivy. If you look at this leaf here, there's some holes. You can see my finger through it. Otherwise, the these two grasses, this one here and the one at the back of the terrarium over here, are doing pretty well. Still not really any sign of animal life because most of it's died. There might be some still living, especially since, now air can get in around the back, but looking through the top you can see more of these little plants have grown up. I went and looked it up today. They're not chickweed. I've been calling them chickweed since I figured out they weren't clover, but there's something else. The name I can't remember. I'll probably just write it out on the screen when I edit this video. It doesn't have a real catchy name anyway. These two Terrarium 2.0 terrariums are still doing just fine. They are all moss and lichen, so they're kind of boring, but hopefully over months and years and decades and millennia we'll see something happen. The lichen will maybe colonize all the wood in there, and then eventually everything will break down or something. Ideally I'd like to see the lichen go on living in there forever, so we're probably not going to keep track of it forever, but certainly I won't live forever. But as long as I never see it die, something will have happened. So taking a look at these, this clover plant is still doing wonderfully. This other plant, I think this is actually chickweed. Maybe I should be cautious before saying it. This stuff, based on the Texas A&M plant identifier website, appears to be chickweed. This terrarium's still doing pretty good, and although a month or two ago we saw this little plant sprout up, and now you can only see just kind of a ghostly outline of where it once was, except at the tip. It's basically died and rotted away and kind of been partially replaced by algae. Pickle jar terrarium has got another little thing sprouting up in the back. So, with any luck, maybe we will see that one finally survive. This is the first one really to pop out since I moved it outside. So for the first time, we have something growing in there that has access to light. And so it's my hope that it will survive. Certainly it's tenacious. That thing was planted almost 5 months ago, and there's still stuff sprouting up in it, even though nothing seems to survive long term. But this is still hanging on, still doing pretty well. This onion at this point has like tied itself in knots at the bottom because it's just grown, I guess it would be yay tall if it weren't in the bottle. So it's scrunched up in there. The creeping fig, I think, is still alive. These two leaves at the bottom are still a nice green color, which suggests that it's doing better than all of the other 1.1 terraria, which is probably because I put, 2 tablespoons of water in all of the others but this one only got 8 strawfuls, which I suppose is probably less water. And it might be doing even better if it didn't have that much, although then maybe the onion wouldn't be doing so well. These two are not doing so hot. This still, I think, is dead. I remember thinking it was doing great a few months ago, but at this point it's that same sick yellow color that all the other dead plants look like they turned. In the nothing jar, there is nothing, as per usual. The little sprout we saw died. Now there's just a little bit of algae. And this terrarium, same story. Basically everything's dead. There's basically no change in the indoor terrarium. If these were the only ones I had, I probably wouldn't even bother filming them, but since we're doing an update for everything else, we might as well cover these. So each of these is facing, you're looking at the sun-facing side of the terrarium. And I really don't think any of them have anything alive except maybe this one with the moss. I think in the last update I said I thought that perhaps it had grown a little bit, but I went and rewatched some of the older updates and it really looks like it's the same as it's always been. See if I can show the moss a little more close up. So these front yard terraria don't really have enough going on to be warranting a whole detailed look. Basically they're just dead, still dead, no changes. But this one, which has always been our healthiest terrarium, is looking pretty sick at this point. I kind of want to compare it because it had a twin in the backyard, the other creeping fig terrarium. I'd like to just put them side by side and take a look. So here we have the front yard terrarium, and here we have the backyard terrarium. And you can really see the difference. This one was doing pretty well not so long ago. They both pretty much filled up their container. Right. The difference might be disease, but I suspect it's heat. This one is much warmer. Even just touching it, I can feel it. I'll go get my thermometer and take their pictures out of the sunlight. Even the algae here has turned brown and basically started to die. So I think the problem is just at the front yard. They need a little bit of shade, and without that they get too hot and everything dies. So what's the best side? Probably this side. I think this was the south side, and it was doing better in the winter time when it got more light, but now it also gets more heat, and so the other side back here is, and this stuff in the middle is still green, I think, although wilted, which brings up another possibility that it might get hot enough for the water to escape around the edges of the lid. Which shouldn't happen in theory. The whole kind of premise here is that we're not exchanging gas with the outside world, but realistically I don't think the seal on these lids is so strong that it prevents that from happening. So this says the soil's about 107. Plant itself is 102. And in this other one, the plant is only 89. And the soil's also about 89. It's actually very interesting. 102, 107, yeah. So this plant is managing to cool itself off despite everything. Not effectively enough, but it is doing it. This plant is happy with its temperature and is essentially the same as its surroundings. The stairs, same temperature as the soil. If we come over here, it's a little warmer. Plant here is 93, soil's 95, basically the same. The table it's sitting on is about 94, 95. Oh, it breaks my heart to have to put you back here, little plant. Put you in the backyard and save your life, but science demands it. We need to know what's going to happen. We need to watch you die.